Happy Sunday, June 9th, everyone. Welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage, and we cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below and leave any comments, questions, concerns below. And after the video, if you like today's weather forecast, give the video a thumbs up down below by giving it a like. I do appreciate that as well. Let's look at today's weather forecast. We have a trough up here across portions of southeastern Canada and the northeastern U.S., and a ridge of high pressure across the west and the south. And this is bringing some extensive heat from the Gulf Coast up here through Texas, through the Four Corners region, and out across much of the western third of the country. And you can see that this afternoon. Look at all the heat building up from the Carolinas all the way down here through Florida, Georgia, through Dixie Alley here, all the way into Texas, the Four Corners region, and into California and much of the west here. A lot of these areas are going to be into the 90s and potentially even well into the 90s this afternoon. Heat index values are going to be tagging the 100-degree mark for a lot of areas down here, including near the Lake Charles, Louisiana area, New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, 110 down into Brownsville and San Antonio, Texas today, and 100 degrees with the heat index from Jacksonville down toward Daytona Beach and near the Tampa, Naples, Florida region as well. So a lot of areas here with the heat. But look to the north. We have a lot of cooler air, so definitely enjoy that if you live in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Northeast. Get outside, walk the dog, go for a walk today through the walking path or anything like that. You definitely could do that because lots of great weather out there as we go through the afternoon. Now, with that said, we do have some active weather to talk about. Let's look at yesterday. We did have a lot of severe weather across the Front Range in eastern Colorado and into the Central Plains, into Kansas, Texas Panhandle, and into portions of Missouri here, into Arkansas, western Tennessee. A lot of areas being impacted by severe weather. And we did have one tornado reported in eastern Colorado yesterday, and a lot of blues showing up on here. That is wind reports. A lot of those winds were over 70, 80, 90 miles per hour yesterday, especially here into Kansas. And as we go through the day today, that actually did lead to the outflow boundaries shifting further south. So we do have more of areas further south with severe weather potential today, in a kind of a weird area. We have a Rockies severe weather threat, level 1 out of 5 in the marginal risk there in the dark green. And then we have a yellow level 2 out of 5, slight risk back here into eastern, northeastern Arkansas, southwest Tennessee, north Mississippi, and northwest Alabama. A little bit greater coverage of severe weather. Otherwise, the marginal risk extends further to the east. Main risk areas here are going to be seeing those 60-mile-per-hour wind gust potential today, quarter-size hail, and the tornado threat is very low. It's less than 2% in all areas across the United States. So let's look at why we're seeing this. Well, here's your thunderstorm fuel across the southeast into the southern plains, and then on up into the Rockies here. We have a lot of instability, especially when you see these yellows, oranges, and then reds. That's 1,000, 2,000, even 3,000 joules per kilogram of instability here. The higher the number, the better the potential for thunderstorms and severe weather. So let's look here at the radar depiction late this morning. We got a little cluster of showers and a few thunderstorms across downstate Missouri and Illinois, western Kentucky, and middle Tennessee. Some of these storms could be severe, but I think most of this is a heavy rainfall threat. As we go into the afternoon, we're going to see more storms forming out here into the Rockies, a couple storms forming into the southern plains, but I think we wait till the evening hours around dinner time or thereabouts towards sunset. We start to see more numerous coverage of showers and storms. And again, even with numerous coverage, everybody won't see a thunderstorm today. So if you are watching me in North Georgia, you have a marginal risk of severe weather. Doesn't mean you'll have a severe thunderstorm today. Just means the atmosphere is ripe for the potential for severe weather as we go into the evening. And then as we go into early Monday morning, this is after midnight, but before sunrise, you can see a couple storms roaming the landscape across the Red River Valley here into Oklahoma, Texas. Other than that, the coverage will start to wane and the intensity of the storms will wane into early tomorrow morning. Here's the rainfall amounts going through your Monday morning commute. You can see the heaviest rains on the northwest flow here from eastern New Mexico into the Texas Panhandle and West Texas, another area here where we have ongoing storms in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, downstate Illinois there, Tennessee, and western Kentucky. That area could see a little bit of rainfall as we go through the Monday morning time frame. And that is an area of concern. We do have a moderate risk for flash flooding there in southwestern and southern Missouri around the Springfield area. So make sure if you do live in and around the Springfield, Missouri area to be mindful of any flash flood warnings that you do get issued later on today in case of that potential for heavy rainfall as it continues through the afternoon. Let's look at the weather pattern as we head into the new work week here. This is Monday, June 10th, and we have a trough continuing, very strong trough across the northeast. That'll keep temperatures cool. The ridge will start to build out west, and it will flex its muscles by the middle of the week, actually pressing a little further east toward the Mississippi River by Wednesday. And then by Friday, we see that continue across the middle of the country. But every once in a while, every day or so, we're going to see a trough start to traverse the northern periphery of this ridge and offer the chance for some showers and thunderstorms. We'll get to that in just a moment. But let's look at the heat building this week. Here is your 5-day temperature anomaly. And you can see a lot of the heat will be out west, but it will start to move east toward the Mississippi River by the time we get into mid and then late this week. And you can see some cooler than normal temperatures across the east. That will actually be turning more above normal as we go deeper into the week as well. So let's look at those temperatures early week. This is Monday, June 10th. You can see a lot of the heat that we're seeing today will remain to the south, across the southeast coast, the Gulf Coast, and the desert southwest. Pleasant temperatures across the north and central U.S., the northeast, almost a fall-like feel to the air as we go into Monday. Going into Wednesday, there's that ridge, starts to flex its muscles, and it starts to heat up across the middle of the country. So the Great Plains, parts of the Midwest, and the western Ohio Valley, temperatures will get back well into the 80s. And then as we go into late week on Friday, June 14th, a lot more 90s and middle 90s at that as we go into the time frame into the Central Plains, Southern Plains, and into the mid-Mississippi Valley. Some of those 90s stretching up into the Ohio Valley and even mid-Atlantic as well, while the upper Midwest, like the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the northern lower Michigan regions, and also the upper peninsula of Michigan, will remain rather cool for later on in the week. And looking at the heat indexes on Friday, look at this, up to 105 there into the Wichita, Topeka region, near 105 in Kansas City, and near 100 there as well in St. Louis. So we're going to start to see that heat building a little bit further to the north and east than we've seen this season thus far. Let's look at precipitation chances through the week. So on Monday, we got a low pressure system here in eastern Wyoming. This could bring an organized threat of severe weather from portions of the northwestern plains and the Front Range all the way down into West Texas and eastern New Mexico. We have a slight risk here into western South Dakota, into the panhandle there of Nebraska, and far eastern areas there of Wyoming for a little bit greater of coverage of severe weather on Monday. Going into Tuesday, we got a low pressure system up into western Ontario and 997 here. A weak cool front is going to be extending down from that into Minnesota and Iowa. That could bring a threat for isolated storms on Tuesday, but the greatest inflow and the greatest, lift for the storms will be down here into portions of Texas and far southwestern Oklahoma with that marginal risk on Tuesday. Then as we go into Wednesday, we got a new low pressure system developing out here in the high plains. This could lead to more instability. And the Storm Prediction Center's Day 4 outlook, 4 days out, already has a slight risk of severe weather for eastern South Dakota, parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and also northeast Nebraska here. This could get expanded, possibly even upgraded as we do get closer, as this is still 4 days out. And then as we go into Thursday, a cool front on the northern periphery of that ridge. We showed you all the heat building to the south here. It's going to be working with that instability. We could have more of a mesoscale convective system, and that means a line of storms, that squall line that'll move from northwest to southeast here through portions of the Midwest into the western Great Lakes as we go into Thursday. That is a Day 5 outlook for a slight risk of severe weather from Nebraska, northeast Kansas through the Hawkeye State of Iowa, northern Missouri into north central Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and over here toward Lake Michigan as we go into Thursday. That also could get expanded and upgraded. And then as we go into Friday, Pretty dry day here across most of the southern U.S. Besides Florida and southern Georgia, we have a lot of tropical moisture moving up in that area. But other than that, right now for Friday, not seeing any severe weather expected. That could change as we do get closer here. Let's look here at the rainfall amounts for the upcoming week, Monday, June 10th through Friday, June 14th. You can see where the active weather will be. Down here at first in the first part of the week in Texas and into Oklahoma. And then with the heat building, that will shift the area of active storms further north, including severe weather across the north. You can see the heavier rainfall there, stretching from the northern plains, the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and into the northeast. And then very heavy rainfall down into Florida here. We definitely could be seeing some double-digit rainfall totals through the week. This is a 5-day period for places like Fort Myers and Naples, down here into the Key West region, into places like maybe even the Miami area, seeing several inches of rain through this upcoming week with tropical moisture down here. Right now, the National Hurricane Center does not have any areas outlined for any potential tropical cyclones over the next 7 days, so this is mainly just going to be a heavy rainfall setup. We're not looking at a tropical storm or a hurricane or anything like that. Same thing over here in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. We are just seeing mainly just some tropical rains, and that is about it. As we go into Father's Day weekend here, Saturday, June 15th, and Father's Day Sunday, June 16th, the ridge will continue to flex its muscles but shift further off to the east, and a big trough starting to develop across the Pacific Northwest will mark the start of a pattern change. But looking at here, you can see all the heat we see here this upcoming week out west will turn to below normal temperatures out west, especially for the Pacific Northwest, the Cascades, even up here into British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan in Canada as well. And then all the heat will be building across the Mississippi River here toward the Mid-Atlantic, the southeast, and toward the northeast toward Father's Day weekend. And looking at this here, these are preliminary numbers. These could still change, and the placement of this could still change a little bit as we are several days away. But here's your potential highs on Saturday, June 15th. 80s, 90s, even triple digits further to the south. You factor in those dew points. And I do think this could be enhanced a little bit across the Corn Belt as we do have what we call evapotranspiration. A lot of corn crops, a lot of bean crops here across the Corn Belt, and that does mean that this could actually lead to higher dew points and then you see on this map as we go into Saturday. So these heat index values are subject to change, but you can get a general idea. It's going to be pretty hot here into the Missouri Valley, into the mid-Mississippi Valley, maybe closing in on the triple-digit mark with their heat index on Saturday. And then Sunday here, you can see a lot of heat building out ahead of a cold front that's going to be moving through the Midwest. Look at all the instability here that we see. A lot of dew points into the 60s, 70s. Again, these could be low by a handful of degrees because of the evapotranspiration from the corn and bean crops across this area. But you can see, again, this is also subject to change, but the heat index values are pretty high already. So we see middle, upper 90s and triple digits again for Father's Day, all the way up into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley. Let's look here at the precipitation for Saturday, June 15th. We have another low pressure system, 998, moving into portions of South Dakota, cold front extending down into Nebraska and Kansas, bringing us the potential for severe weather, I do think, as we have a lot of instability building here. You can see the yellows up to 2,000 joules per kilogram on Saturday. Then as we go into Sunday, you can see that low pressure system develops up there into the arrowhead of Minnesota, into northeast Minnesota there. Cold front extending down the south from there, a new low pressure system getting ready to develop in the front range. So just a very active weather pattern as we go into Father's Day weekend. A lot of instability there on Father's Day as well. So looking at that, here's the area that we could see for rainfall in two areas in the United States. The first area up here with our main low pressure storm track across the Dakotas, Nebraska, into Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. That's northern Wisconsin, and then into Ontario, Canada. And then down here into the southeast with more tropical rains for Alabama, especially southeastern Alabama, Georgia, and into North Florida, even central Florida, getting a few more inches of rain there for Father's Day weekend. Thank you all for watching. If you did like today's weather forecast, make sure to give it a like by giving it a thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel as we cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics every single day on this channel. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their weekend out there.